let's play a little Which Doesn't Belong and Why on this Friday edition of PFT Live. Peter, quarterbacks who got a vote of confidence this week. Which doesn't belong and why? Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins.
I would say Baker Mayfield, because he's the only one of the three that I think is going to play the next 10 years with his team.
Wow. See, I'm not so sure of that. I'd say he's the one of the three that still has yet to prove he can get the kind of big money contract that the other two have gotten. And I do think Jared Goff and Carson Wentz are cautionary tales for paying a guy after only 3 years. I think the Browns should give it another year before they decide that Baker Mayfield is the guy for the next 10 years, because we're not that far removed from a 2019 when he was not very good at all. But he definitely was improved and very good in 2020. All right, NFC North franchise tag candidates, which doesn't belong and why? Bears receiver Allen Robinson, Lions receiver Kenny Golladay, Packers running back Aaron Jones.
Man, that is a really, really good one. I'm just going to throw a dart here, and I'm going to say Kenny Golladay because I think there's a better chance that the other two guys get franchised than Golladay, even though I think Golladay is a long-term, if you've got two or three guys on the absolute top level of receivers, Golladay is on that secondary level I think he's going to be great for a long time.
I'm going to say Aaron Jones just because I think it would be a mistake for the Packers to invest. And we had the estimate earlier this week of $11.1 million, which seems high with the cap going down. But 8 figures for 1 year with a running back, I wouldn't do it. There's too many other running backs out there, as we discussed earlier in the program. Every round of the draft or undrafted, that's a lot of money to plunk down. And it basically makes it 1 more year with the guy, because then he's got the leverage for the second year with a 20% raise over what he gets this year. And then he becomes a free agent in 2022. AFC North free agent pass rushers, which doesn't belong and why? Ravens pass rusher Matthew Judon, Carl Lawson of the Bengals, Bud Dupree of the Steelers.
Well, the only guy of those three who I think is probably gone from his team is Bud Dupree. My guess is that the other two guys are going to get signed either for 1 year or long term. Thing about Bud Dupree that's very interesting, at least in my mind, is that he's playing his best football in the first half of last season and then gets hurt and he's out for the year. Who is going to have the faith in a year of the declining cap to make him a $15 million a year player? That's going to be the big challenge, to create that kind of market for Bud Dupree.
Shereen Williams made a great point on PFTPM earlier this week. He may end up with the Steelers on a 1-year deal just because no one is going to take that leap of faith. He'll look around, if the money's not out there, stay in Pittsburgh another year, and then try to get paid again next year. That's the great tragedy of the franchise tag. You don't get the generational wealth. You get good money for 1 year. You suffer a serious injury. You never get the contract that you would have gotten if you had been a free agent. I'm going to say Judon because I don't think the Ravens are going to tag him. I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they're just going to find another way. Too much money to tag him because they tagged him last year. He gets a 20% bump. Veterans cut this week, which doesn't belong and why? Kyle Van Noy of the Dolphins, Kyle Rudolph of the Vikings, Jared Cook, technically cut, option not picked up, tight end of the Saints, which doesn't belong and why?
Kyle Van Noy cut by the Dolphins really, really surprised me. And the reason he gets cut is that they got this Van Ginkel guy who came out of nowhere last year and played very well. He made huge plays for that defense all year long. So they could afford to let Van Noy go. But this sort of continues a trend with that organization. And it's been a lot of guys on the offensive coaching staff, but they've admitted mistakes on a lot of guys in Brian Florey's first 2 years plus. And so to me, I think you've got to start looking at this like, hey, let's be a little bit more cautious on who we're giving the guaranteed money to right out of the box.
I'd say Cook doesn't belong because he's clearly the best of the three. Now, he's streaky, and at times he disappears, but he's capable of being dominant. And I think he's a guy the Saints would have kept, but for this incredible cap problem that they have this year, and they are slashing everywhere they can to try to get on the right side of the spending limit, which is expected to be $182 to $183 million.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.